In today's episode of the Platform Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I have Amir Golbazi with me. He's a product marketing manager at Daylight.io, and Daylight.io is a very interesting company. On the website, they state they improve the experience between people and processes. They simplify data collection for any type of interaction, and which is obviously conceptually very interesting. But today we want to deep dive what that means in practicality, in which sort of scenarios it's being applied most, and also how the team around Amir is thinking about growth for the company. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Lucas. Excited to be here.
Of course. So maybe give the listeners a quick overview first, a 360 breakdown. What is Daylight all about in your own words?
Absolutely. So we are a low-code automation platform. We enable enterprises to build human-centric experiences through iterative development, which I think is really key for us and our customers. As you know, COVID-19 really accelerated digital adoption by a number of both consumers and organizations. So for the users of our platform, our customers use it to actually build digital experiences that collect, validate, and deliver data throughout their entire value chain. Which is really important nowadays when you're trying to build a personalized experience, maybe onboarding, self-serve, or just even kind of targeting customers who are coming into your services, your product.
Very cool. That gives us a high level overview. Maybe tell us a little bit more about the organizations. How is an organization structured, and which vertical are they in, if they're a great fit for what Daylight has to offer?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Our primary customers, we would say they're kind of, actually, I'll go through this. There are two beneficiaries of our platform. Mm-hmm. One is enterprises. Now, we primarily deal with global banks, financial institutions, insurance administrators or providers, and top tier retail services or providers who do specifically pharmacy services. Now, when I say there's two beneficiaries of our platform, it's one within those organizations that I listed. They are digital change makers, people who are basically at the forefront of getting their organizations to the next stage of digitization and getting them not only competing on that space, but also making that their differentiator amongst competitors. These folks are generally CIOs, CTOs, COOs, or any business unit owner or business line owner that is seeking to grow revenue, deliver more projects, or just be more efficient or effective with their IT resources from a budget and also human resources perspective. Now, second, we primarily right now are in Canada. And if you are a Canadian listener, you most likely have interacted with our product in some shape or form, but we're not necessarily out there for you to know that you are interacting with us. However, these end users are people who are leveraging the products or gathering the service or getting the services from our primary customers. They essentially benefit from more intuitive journeys, a personalized interaction offered by the service provider, which in turn improves not only their experience, but also guides them through the least path of resistance to get to the solution or answer or whatever they need in the most effective and timely fashion as possible. Think of it like this. Before, if you went through paper-based forms to get to a certain piece or to get to a certain, hey, like you need to do this to get to your next step, we make that much easier or much simpler by making the questions that we ask not only intuitive for the end user, but for the change makers or your organizations or our customers. They administer that in a more personalized and digitized fashion, which then enables them not only with clean data, which is really important, but also enables them to plug in that data in different aspects of their tech stack that they provide solutions for.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, who would you say, just to break that down to the sort of, the very practical level, who within those organizations is reaching out? Who's saying, we need something like Daylight? Is that like an operations manager? Is that, from a data science folks? Is that coming from the IT team? Like, who is reaching out? Who needs the solution?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So right now, primarily, like we are referred to by our existing or past customers. So people who have worked at at a bank before, now move on to a different bank, and they're like, I know you guys did this. Can you guys do this? Or in the same sense, there are either digital change makers within the organization. They could be director of operations, director of IT, tech, CIOs, you name it. I can list the whole, we can talk about just that list of who those target segments are, but those are the folks who are reaching out to us. They want to basically do this in a nutshell. And this is what we unlock is they want to be able to build a digital experience quickly and empower non-technical users. We call them citizen users in our world, to be able to build and deploy in an iterative fashion those experiences. Now, what does that mean and why they're actually reaching out to us is that not only unlocks valuable engineering resources that can be diverted into other higher priority projects that require those services, but then also it enables the organization to get to market much faster in a much more intuitive way and learn as they are doing so, versus traditionally it would require extended cycles of building, getting the feedback, and then redoing again and then implementing that feedback into the system. So that's what we solve.
Very clean and clear to understand what you are describing. Now, how do these folks learn about data? You mentioned sort of people switching jobs, right? And this is how they're taking it away because they had a good experience. What are other ways that people learn about daylight?
Yeah, so we do a lot of what we like to do is we want to go to our customers or prospects. And the reason being is we're a 4-year-old company. We're Series A. We're in Canada. We have a great penetration in Canada. And our goal next is to penetrate the US market and replicate the success that we've had here over there. So how we actually, how they find out about us and how we kind of put ourselves in front of them is primarily one-to-one engagements through either digital conferences or conferences in person that are primarily focused around either automation or the adoption of tech within one of those financial institutions, sectors, or insurance or healthcare or retail sectors. We do have to do a bit more legwork in terms of just getting there to these prospects. However, once they actually understand and see how flexible and pliable our platform is, and there's a really important distinction here. We're not no code, we are low code. For a no code platform to take or kind of come to fruition in a large scale enterprise or a bank, basically they sometimes have to rip and replace existing legacy systems. We do not do that, and we don't believe in doing that because the legacy systems of our customers are primarily their not only backbone, but also their differentiator in a sort of way because they house a lot of customer information and data. And so we work really nicely with those situations. And we even help transition our customers into no code if they wish to, but our local platform really enables them to get there.
That makes sense. Now, okay, then learning about you across those different channels, how do you personally think about the website? It was a very one-to-one type of experiences that you were describing. How do you think about the website? What role does it play?
Well, the website for us is a secondary factor in the current state. Now, I say that in the current state and with a big asterisk. As you can see, maybe if you check out our website, we have a request demo button that's been crossed out to say, get started. And it's really around that notion that we want to get you up and running within days, in contrast to some of the competitors of some of the other providers who take months, if not years, to get set up. And to us, that is, I think, the biggest differentiator. It's not only the way that our platform is built in the current state, but our capability as an organization to help understand your requirements really quickly within a matter of days, build something for you in a week's time or 2 weeks' time, depending on the requirements and how prepared our prospects are. And then from there, deploy something that is ready to go to market complete with UI experiences, complete with branding, complete with all the data linked and interlink between wherever that you want us to be integrated. And then from there, we help you deploy. And the best thing about that is, again, you can, and why we say get started versus request a demo. A demo requires an understanding. What we say is it is so easy for you to get up and running with our platform. It's simply a drag and drop, as you might have seen some of the GIFs that we have on those same pages. If you can learn, if you know how to use business process mapping, you can build a digital form or a digital experience and really guide an array of not only internal employees or customers through a digitized process versus a document-centric or a paper-centric process in the past.
Very cool. Yeah, we talked a lot, about what you guys are doing at Daylight. We talked a bit about the channels that you're exploring. I want to sort of, get to know you and your journey as a product marketing manager a little bit better. First thing I would like to know is there's so much content out there for product marketing managers, right? Where do you personally like to educate yourself? Like, what's your go-to resources with all the noise out there? What's your sort of, place where you think there's high level and quality content?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the pieces that I personally go to, and I'm a member of, is the Product Marketing Alliance. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's a community of product marketers around the globe. There's a Slack channel that's involved. I've been in and out of that community every now and then. I think that's a really good resource to share. And the reason being is, in the field of product marketing and just product marketing as a whole, it is not consistent across organization to organization, meaning the needs, and that's primarily because the needs of the organization could be vastly different at different life cycles of that organization as well too. Right now, we're really primarily focused on sales and sales enablement, just because, again, we're trying to move into a new market, essentially. Mm-hmm. So for me, that has been a really good resource to just check in with my fellow product marketers to see how they are navigating ambiguity, because ambiguity is, I think, something that all product marketers face, or marketers in general face, especially as folks who are in a Series A or a startup environment. There's a lot of ambiguity that occurs in those places, and just being able to navigate that, I think, is just like a skill set on its own. Or just reassurance that other people are navigating it as well too, is reassurance on its own.
Yeah, you're not alone out there on that one. Very good. Awesome. No, that's super cool. I got some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today. Are you ready for those?
Absolutely.
My first question would be, what's the last book you read or the last podcast you listened to?
Yes. So I recently read The Dip, which is like a really, really good book by, oh my God, I know the cover. It's blue. Basically, the author in that book was talking about, I think it's Seth Godin. Seth Godin, yep. That's what it is. The Dip by Seth Godin. They basically kind of go through the importance of understanding that there are ups and downs in everyone's journey. And sometimes the downs are a positive in terms of getting yourself reoriented and also learning from those downs to be able to really come back and do even better next time. So to me, that was a really, really good book that I recently read. Seth Godin's a great marketer. I've listened to a lot of his tech talks as well too. So I would say that's a good book to read, especially now, I would say. And the reason being, it's timely. As you know, the market is not doing well. If you're like me and you're invested in various different assets in both public, private, or the crypto space, you are just tearing your hair apart about what's been happening. So sometimes I think the dip is actually a good thing to either rebalance your portfolio or just re-strategize of what it is or the assets, or just in terms of in general what your life cycle is at within an organization or a company. So timely book, I would have to say. I am talking to you at the end of May 2022, in case you listen to this in the future. The S&P is not doing well right now. So
what's one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
I think definitely expansion into the US and replicating our success here in Canada. A lot of, I would say, for Canadian companies who are homegrown and do really well in Canada, that is, I think, the number one factor for us to continue showing success. So for us, if you are listening and are interested in what we do, please reach out, because that is our number one sole focus at the time of doing this.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what would be the one thing you would want to fix for your role today?
I think it's to standardize getting feedback from different folks. I think it's a very difficult thing, and not only new organizations, but even like more seasoned tech startups. Reason being is there's inconsistencies in terms of how feedback is delivered, i.e. what channel or what medium. But then also too, I think it would be really good if somebody came up with the guidelines of delivering feedback in some way. In the sense of it being constructive, it being suggestive in a sort of way. If the person has an idea, I think that would really, really be beneficial for not just marketers, but anyone who is looking for feedback on what they produce on a daily basis, maybe thinking or tactical assets on a daily basis. So standardized feedback.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. You know, how close the feedback to the actual need is, right? Also, there's the discrepancy in there. Like, it's super interesting. Last question. If we go back to the days of Ted Rogers' School of Management at Ryerson University, you're heading out of education, formal education, into the world of business. What's the one advice you would give yourself for your journey?
I still remind myself of this, and I think a lot of folks who want to do really well, but may contend with this. And if you're familiar with Winston Churchill, one of the things that he said is perfection is the enemy of progress. And as I'm sure anyone can relate to this, when you're trying to start something up or trying to start a new foundation or build something, you want to get it right the first time. And I don't think this could not be any more relevant for me today as it was relevant for me when I graduated university. And what I mean is, I think like in organizations, especially as in the tech startups, we navigate a lot of ambiguity on a daily basis. And I don't think it's just marketers. I think it's everyone, because we're trying to figure out who our market is, who our target segments are, where we fit in with the market amongst competition. And I would say, like, being in the unknown or doing ambiguous tasks is normal. And that's what I would tell myself. And I still tell myself that today. And I think the best course of action to navigate the unknown is to remain organized, and just deliver on the objectives and create foundations or version ones of a strategy or tactical document first, and then iterate over time and continuously adapt. And I think for me, like, that has been the single most unlocking factor in my career. And as a person as well too, in just my personal life, it doesn't have to be perfect the first time around. You can always come back to it and iterate. Nothing is perfect the first time around. I think, as I mentioned, like the dip, things go up and down, like it's a normal fact of life, and fact of companies as well too, unless your deal and your ARR is just through the roof. I don't know how they're doing that.
Very good. I mean, appreciate a lot your insights into your journey, the insights into daylight, your experience with daylight. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about daylight, what's the one thing that they should remember?
I think for us, one thing to remember is, if you are looking to build digital journeys, it is easier than what you would come to expect in today's day and age. It's specifically speaking to enterprise level organization, because those are very, very complex. I would challenge listeners, if they're listening to this and who are in those organizations, to look at what we do and really look into how we can help. And I genuinely mean this. I was compelled to join Daylight because of how easily it was for them to digitize journeys for a complex organization like a bank with over hundreds and millions of users, active users on a daily, monthly, you name it basis. And to me, I think that's a really big opportunity for a lot of these institutions to not only deliver better experiences, but also not be left in the dust by neobanks or alternative solutions that are coming up left, right, and center who cater to millennials like myself, because we expect that nowadays. And I think a lot of consumers, if they're also not millennials or a little bit older, they also have come to expect that now. So I would challenge folks to really look into that if they haven't recently.
Very cool. Amir, thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathway Presents.
Thank you so much.